I want to make a rant today that is both quick and hopefully coherent. I've done a couple of videos recently on constitutional carry and how I support constitutional carry, but there's been some comments on those videos that I find a bit concerning. It's when people say that, well, I would support constitutional carry, but I'm a strong believer of state rights, so I can't support it. Well, that really bothers me because this is coming from people who also say they're big supporters of the Constitution. And if you're a big supporter of the Constitution, you can't keep both of those opinions. You can't believe that your state should somehow have the right to override the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment clearly states that all citizens of this country have the right to keep and bear arms without infringement. So if you believe that, you can't believe that it's a power of the state to put an infringement on your carry rights. You have to pick or choose. You can't be a hypocrite about it. It's kind of like with constitutional rights. You can't believe in some constitutional rights and not others, or else your belief, because of you're saying it's in the Constitution, doesn't really hold any water. So you have to believe one way or the other. Is the Constitution absolute, or does your state have the right to place infringements on the Second Amendment? The Constitution doesn't just say the federal government will place no restrictions on the Second Amendment. It says the rights of all citizens shall not be infringed. The Constitution overrides state powers, state laws. If it's especially enumerated in the Constitution, and in some cases, even if it's not especially enumerated in the Constitution, it is a right of all people and it cannot be taken away from you, not by the federal government or your state or local government. So you have to make up your mind. You have to clarify your opinion here because you can't, like I said, you can't eat your cake and have it too. It's either a state power or it's not. Your state doesn't have the right to infringe on your free speech. Your state does not have the right to restrict you from peacefully assembling to protest. Your state does not have a right to deny you due process, and it doesn't have a right to deny you your Second Amendment rights. That is just not a state power. So for all these people out there that are saying, well, I would get behind constitutional carry, but it violates state rights. No, it doesn't, because that is not a state power. I'm a strong believer in state rights. I don't think most things should fall under the federal government. They should fall under the states, as long as they're not harming anyone from other states who come to the states. As long as they're not, that's why I believe in interstate commerce clauses when they use them properly. But still, that's not one of their powers. It's not a state power. Being able to deny you your constitutional rights is not a state power. It's like with civil rights. When they decided that civil rights were for everybody, that constitutional rights were for everybody, states didn't get to say, well, no, not for black people or Hispanic people or whatever in our state. They had to say, okay, they're for everybody. They have to follow the Constitution. And it's the same thing with the Second Amendment. So I believe in state powers, but there are some things that just aren't a state power. And restricting the Second Amendment is one of those things.